My argument to Verhoeven was, you can make a machine, and you can make man machine-like. But I'm telling you, this is about a man who becomes a machine, but inside the machine, the man remains.
To releases for a long time.
We got to go see that movie.
Yes,
the LFG at the end of the trailer. That was great. That was great.
I already got some people that all want to go. You know, multiple people.
Who?
Adrian, he wants to go too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and definitely bring probably Jonah, and I'll be bringing Noah, and then you could be bringing Henry.
That's in what, June?
I think we talked about that. Yeah.
Deadpool 3. Let's see when it comes out. This comes out in July 26th, so not until the end of July. It comes out. So I just want to say that in our absence, our friends over at Horror and Heels, they released some episodes.
Yeah.
Great episodes. I know that those two girls, the ladies, are very busy with different things in their personal life, but I like when they get on the mic every once in a while and throw some horror stuff. So you ladies have to get back on the mic, throw another episode up so we can listen to your craziness. Also, our friends over at Groundless, they wrapped up Justify. They finished up the last season, the last episode of the last season. Great podcast. If you guys get a chance, go look up Groundless, a Justify podcast. Those guys are great. They created a great show with some fun, different reoccurring themes and subjects they talk about. They went everything from justified stuff to we'll fix your relationship. It was hilarious because then they take people's questions for. I think they only got one or two questions to have them fix their relationship. But what do you expect from some?
It's true dedication as well.
Exactly. So
to the trade, I mean, we that kind of dedication just to get through all those seasons too was
took it episode by episode and really interesting conversations and topics. So congratulations to Chris and Randy over at Groundless for finishing that show up and doing a great show over there at the Groundless podcast. Next up for them is one of our favorite shows that we mentioned as much as they mention. Can you guess what it is? It has a very famous theme song.
Smallville?
Well, theme song. No. We talk about it a lot. We mentioned, Marissa and Summer and Seth and all these folks and everything.
The OC.
Next up for them, they're going to be doing the entire show of the OC.
Wow.
We should put the clip in right there just because we try to whenever we can.
You wish you were doing that, didn't you?
Well, no. I mean, I'm excited that they're doing it. You know, I don't know if there's any good OC podcasts out there, but like for the Oliver storyline, that batshit crazy Oliver storyline alone, where he like starts stalking Marissa and everything.
Yeah,
that's fun enough to get into, And Seth, how everybody likes him at first, and then by about mid-season, season 2, you're just like, okay, this guy's really annoying.
And how he seems to play the same character in every movie.
Mr. Adam Brody, yeah.
even with the tattoos and the crazy hair and and anything else he might be in.
Did he have tattoos and crazy hair one?
That he was in.
I remember him in The Land of Women. It was with Kristen Stewart right before she got into Twilight and blew up popular. Yeah. She was in this movie with him and Meg Ryan. It was kind of real weird and awkward, but it was an all right movie. I didn't mind it. The trailer was really good.
Yeah,
for that movie.
Yeah, So what do you think about the movies that won the Oscar this year?
Well, let's talk about them. Which movies which awards are we talking about?
Have you actually seen the winner for the Best Picture, Oppenheimer?
Have I seen Oppenheimer?
Yes.
I have not seen Oppenheimer.
I have not actually.
I haven't
either.
seen Barbie either.
I just
have not seen
I've seen Barbie.
Barbenheimer.
But
That's
Barbie
a big
was
one.
actually not bad. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was. If you don't look
I have
into
nothing
more
wrong
of it,
with watching a Barbie movie, but
Yeah.
it seemed like there was some, one of those, let's put the message first before the story. So I
Yeah.
was kind of like nervous to watch it. So
but if
I'm
you
waiting to see what more
ignored
people
that
say.
part of it, if you could ignore it, which I could, it was actually a pretty funny movie. It was all in all like Will Ferrell popping up. Like I had no clue that dude was even in that movie.
Yeah,
But I watched it with the wife and the daughter, and they actually enjoyed it.
they liked it.
Yeah. And then we see who won the best actor was Cillian Murphy. But I mean, look who he was going against. He was going against, Bradley Cooper, Coleman,
Bradley
Domingo,
Cooper is for that one that he did with the
Maestro.
Yeah, where he was the
Yes.
conductor and everything.
Jeffrey Wright and Paul Giamatti. But Cillian Murphy definitely deserved it. So
Yeah, is it Cillian or Killian?
who knows?
I'm not sure.
And
I
then
think
Emma
it's
Stone, Best Actress, and we'll just that's all we'll go.
Killian. She
over
was in
there.
what? Poor Things.
Yes.
And who was she up against?
Annette Bening, Carey Mulligan, Lily Gladstone,
Carey Mulligan for which role?
Maestro as well
Okay,
as Bradley Cooper.
I was gonna say Carey Mulligan is a standout actress.
Yeah,
I think she was the one that was in that. It's like one of the best Doctor Who episodes. Blink.
Yes.
That was great.
Yes.
She played. I can't remember her name in that movie.
Right.
But she was pretty famous person in Doctor Who.
Right, and I think this is Emma Stone's. This was Emma Stone's second Academy Award. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty
Her
sure this is
second
her
nomination
Second,
or
no,
second
second
win?
win.
What was her first win for?
Was it? Yeah, for La La Land.
I would like to know how Emma Stone, fantastic actress that she
Yeah.
is, how she has two and Leonardo DiCaprio has one.
Yeah, I know.
How?
I know.
Like, I get it. Probably, like, most of the time that he was up, like, he had a really good role. He was up against people like De Niro and Pacino
Yeah.
and different things like
Yeah.
that, but still.
Well, here's his curse in that sense, is that because he was such a phenomenal actor at such a young age, that he was going against the De Niros and these famous, just giant of actors.
You mean there was more better actors back in the day, whereas nowadays, like,
correct?
"Ah, this is
correct.
easy."
But not taking anything away from him though. Taking
Or
anything away
Emma
from
Stone.
him. Yeah. I mean, not taking anything away from Leonardo for not being able to win against some of these giants. You know what I mean? But it's still like he was still that caliber, and he did it the right way. He like slowly moved up and finally got his come up.
So, do you think they made the right call in 1994, giving Tommy Lee Jones The Fugitive over Leonardo over Gilbert?
No.
No.
I do not think that. Now, should he? Tommy Lee
'cause
Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Was
There's a lot of
amazing
movies
and
that he's
electric in that
yes,
movie.
yeah, but there's a lot of movies he's been in that he should have won Oscars
Yeah.
for. But I think Leonardo in What's Eating Gilbert Grape was by far his best, in my opinion, his best performance of all time.
The problem with that is, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to automatically go, okay, he's playing somebody with disabilities. He does it so well, and to say, that's where it's at.
But he's playing. But here's what makes it great is that he's playing somebody that has a disability doesn't really think that they have a disability, that they're stuck still in that
doesn't know
childlike
that they have
mind.
it
Yeah,
or
or
whatever.
doesn't even know they have it. So it's like, in a sense, it's one person playing two different roles at once.
Regardless, he did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I would have hated to be on the committee that year because, as good as he did it, Tommy Lee Jones was just absolutely electric in that role that he did, and so that'd be a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I can't even think of which one I give it to right now.
All right, so robots.
Robots. Well, let's go ahead and intro this. Welcome back. Haven't been at this table with you for quite some times. I've been missing it a lot. I'm glad we were able to do this. Today we're going to be talking about Robocop. It's 1987. Not the 2014, though I do enjoy that movie.
I do too.
I think you
I
do
really
too.
do.
Okay. Yeah, so I really enjoy that movie. I enjoy this one a lot more.
I'm going to throw some things of that
Sure.
movie into this as
Yeah,
well.
we need to. I think we need to
throwing
talk
that out
about both and talk about what one was trying to address versus what the other was trying to address. Kind of cool different differences. We've been wanting to do Robocop for a while now, so I'm glad that we finally did this. It was kind of between this and Jurassic Park,
which we will get to.
And I think you kind of more wanted to do Jurassic Park.
I love Jurassic Park, though. I mean, I love dinosaurs. My kid loves dinosaurs, and I love dinosaurs, too.
I felt we could get through this one because it was kind of short notice that we were going to be able to get to do this, but then really get some focus on Jurassic Park, because I at least want to do the 2 done by Spielberg. The Lost World and the first one and everything. But Robocop, however, was directed by Paul Verhoeven. It was written by Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner. This movie stars Peter Weller as Alex Murphy, Nancy Allen as Ann Lewis. So we got Ronnie Cox as Dick Jones, Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Bodiger, Miguel Ferrer as Bob Morton. I remember him from The Stand, don't you?
He passed away, too, in 2017.
Yeah, he also played the vice president in Iron Man 3.
Yes, yeah.
His daughter, played by Jenna Ortega, didn't have an arm, and that was part of that whole project to grow. Spoilers. But, he was really good. I remember him as the devil's right-hand man, basically, in The Stand.
He was so good in that movie.
Really good.
He plays that... And it's so funny to think about this, too, but he always plays the henchman, in a sense. You know, like the right-hand man.
Yeah.
Like in, let's see, obviously The Stand, he was the right-hand man. And in this movie, in a sense, he was the right-hand man. Sure. He was trying to surpass every character, but in a way, it was like he plays that right-hand type guy, henchman type guy, very, very well.
He's a really good character actor, and we've seen him in these different roles, these different characters we like. Mm-hmm. I liked him in that movie because it was kind of like he was not a very good guy morally, obviously, but he always had a sense of like, I really don't want to be doing this, but I have literally no other option, and so he's really
an opportunist
but he knew there was no place for him on the other side, so he was kind of in this thing like, all right, I just got to do this because this is what I've been doing my whole life, is do what it takes to get by and everything, and and you could tell he didn't want to be there, though. Last one I'm really going to mention is Paul McCrane as Emil. He also, Ray Wise as Leon Nash. I think he was on a couple episodes of Chuck, and he was in Psych. He played the devil on one show. I can't remember what it was.
It was
that one where they vacuum up. They used a vacuum to catch escaped demons or something.
You're gonna keep going with it because I'm gonna see.
But anyways, I mentioned Paul McCrane because he was in ER. If you ever watched that show, he played Dr. Romano. And it was hilarious because he was a jerk all the time. And I don't know if hilarious is, maybe that's too dark of me to say, but he got his arm chopped off by a helicopter one episode. Yeah. And then a few seasons later, you think that injury he got where he couldn't be a surgeon anymore, getting his arm chopped off, you think that would have made him a better person, but he continued being a jerk. So a few seasons later, they had a helicopter drop from the top floor and smash down on him and kill him. So that dude did not have very good luck with helicopters in that show, but
he actually lasted longer than all but the last
this
Red.
Doctor.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I was trying to.
As far as the villains in this one, he was the second to last one. So Ray Wise was the last one left alive.
Yeah.
Before Officer Lewis got him.
We got to talk about Kurtwood Smith too, though. I mean,
we'll talk about Kurtwood Smith, but I don't know if it's the same with you. But all of these people, this was the first movie I saw all of them in.
Yeah.
So anytime I ever saw Peter Weller, like in 24 later on, I'm like, hey, that's Robocop. Anytime I saw Nancy Allen, like in Carrie or different things, I'm like, hey, it's the girl from Robocop. Yeah. Dick Jones, the guy, Ronnie Cox, who played Dick Jones. I've seen him in many different things. Yeah. He's the guy from Robocop, even though his debut movie with Ned Beatty was Deliverance, and what a movie for that to be a debut movie. Kurtwood Smith, you see that 70s show. Hey, that's the guy from Robocop.
From a lot of things too. I mean, Kurtwood Smith. He's got a lot of big films and a lot of big TV shows, and he was on a lot of the a lot of big things.
Always a grumpy person and all that kind of stuff. But all these people, Miguel Ferrer. I'm pretty sure that I saw him in RoboCop before The Stand, and same with these others. So. anytime I see any of these, this is like one of the earliest movies, and probably it was the first violent movie
Oh no, that I've ever seen.
watched.
Me too.
And I remember watching, and we'll get into it, but watching the scene where he just gets executed, and
You know where we watched?
I just remember having flashbacks somewhere. It was definitely not our house.
No, it was Aunt Jerry's house.
Was it at Jerry's house?
Because we watched it with Lucas.
Yeah, but we probably even over there. I don't think we were supposed to.
We weren't supposed to. No, most definitely, especially over there. You know, it was a lot more strict.
I thought it was at a local friend's house or something. A military.
I remember. I'm pretty sure I remember watching it at Aunt Jerry's, but it just. It's the first movie that I can remember some sort of gore at it, you know.
Being horrified. It wasn't a horror movie, so you weren't expecting it. Oof. So maybe
watching it again, I was just like, wow.
And maybe you don't even think about it, because when you're watching a horror movie, I'm sure there's way more bloody, disgusting things in horror movies that we've seen. We just kind of like, your brain doesn't work that way. It's like, this is part of the horror movie, but you don't think that you're going to see it in action movies. Most action movies like this are studio approved things, like to go out to the general audience. Not too much blood, not too much gore, not too much violence, cussing. This had all of it because it's Paul Verhoeven.
But at the same time, it's like nowadays this movie would fit in that category.
Which category?
In the horror category. Not the science fiction.
Now that I'm older, I understand completely that this is a horror movie.
Yes, correct.
And there are many different examples that we can bring up. Yeah, I completely agree. When I was younger, this was an action movie.
Right.
Now I realize it is a techno horror or some kind of a I don't know, post-apocalyptic horror type thing or whatever. But it is definitely a horror.
Yeah.
Just because of the horrifying things that happen to it. So. Top 5 robot movies. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. What's your number 5?
Number 5, Pacific Rim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is right.
I do like that movie because it's just. I mean, it's centered.
I went closer with more artificial intelligence stuff or whatever.
I've got it. It's kind of scattered through. Okay.
Okay.
So I go with Pacific Rim. The second one was okay. The first one was great. It
had Jax from Sons of Anarchy, right?
Yeah, it was such a good movie, and it was in the graphics. It wasn't crazy like CGI so horrible.
I think.
Well, you know how like some nowadays you're watching some of these like Godzilla type movies and stuff like that, and the CGI is still not quite there. Where with this Pacific Rim, it just seems so natural.
Well, I think back then. Well, I mean, I think the further you go back, you realize when we were using CGI, it was sparingly when you needed it. Whereas, studios and some directors are able to look at a scene and go, we'll just do that in CGI.
Yeah.
So, let's do practical stuff, and the things that look funny we'll fix with CGI. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to do it. That's what James Cameron did.
Yeah.
All these kinds of things. So, yeah, and you had to have 2 people as a hive mind to operate those machines, or they wouldn't work, right?
Right.
So. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Like I said, I think I saw half of it or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't huge on it. I don't know if it was just because it was too hyped or whatever, but I've always heard great things. Did you like the second one with John Boyega?
It was all right. It was okay. I mean, it just still wasn't.
Do you remember it very much?
Yeah, I mean, they added so many different extra types of robots and stuff into it, and it just kind of got not so much about attacking the villain or the monsters as it was attacking each other, more so, I guess. I don't know.
I got you. My number 5 is iRobot with Will Smith. I just love that movie. I'll watch that every couple of years and everything. It's simple, but I mean, it has great performances. It has a great, question of artificial intelligence and different things like that. I love James Cromwell in it. Even though it's James Cromwell, he was in that video. Well, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, Will Smith did a great job in it. I mean, Shia LaBeouf's even got a little role in it. Mm-hmm. And then, was it Alan Tudyk that did the voice for that robot?
Yes.
I think he did.
Yes.
And, I don't know. It was just a really good movie. I have fun with it. Nothing important, crazy about it, but I just have fun with it. Mm-hmm. What's your number 4?
Wall-E.
Wall-E.
Love that movie. And it's so much more to that movie than.
And how scared are you that we're that close, or that we're this close to going that way?
Oh, it's there. I mean, it's
because you and I have talked about which apocalypse we're actually headed towards, because we're obviously headed towards one. But you think it's the Wall-E.
Yes.
What did I say it was? I can't remember, but
in BVS. That's what you're thinking of, where Superman actually goes bad, and Superman takes over the world, and basically
I don't think
Batman's
that's what
trying
I'm
to
thinking
fight
of
it.
at all.
Oh, okay. No, I think Wally's just way too close to where we're at now, and the fact that we're literally creating things to make our life just easier, and there comes a point where what's the old saying, strong men make
easy times make soft men, soft men make hard times make strong men.
There we go.
Yeah.
That saying,
So we got a lot of soft men and women
yes.
in power right now.
And that doesn't mean necessarily just actual like just talking about men in general.
We're actually
at
the phase of soft people right now.
Soft people, there we go.
Soft people make hard times. That's what we're about to head into.
Yes,
and
correct.
I mean, not that we don't have hard times now, but it's about to get a whole lot.
Yeah,
worse. If you're paying attention to anything that's going on in the news. My number 4 is Short Circuit. I love Johnny Five.
It's on my list.
I love Ali Sheedy in that movie. It was just a great movie. It was fun when we were younger. We probably didn't understand a lot of it or get a lot of the adult humor because I've watched it since growing up.
Your mama is a snowblower.
That was one of our main insults that we used to
when
say
I was a
to
kid.
each
I
other.
used to say it all the time.
I remember that. Great movie. Don't have much to say about it, but yeah, that was it. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is actually Terminator.
Terminator. I got that a lot higher. I'll go ahead and say it's number 1 for me. That's my number 1 robot movie. I think it is the definitive robot movie, as James Cameron was trying to make it. But we've already talked about why we like Terminator. We have 2 whole episodes, a good 3 hours or so of content showing why we like those movies. Great movies. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. My number 3 is Chappie. Have you ever seen Chappie? Yeah. I love Chappie. It got so panned and it got so talked down, and now Neil Blomkamp can't really make good movies anymore because he did District 9. Everybody loved it, and then Elysium and Chappie got so hammered. And I liked both of those movies. I like Chappie a lot more, but I don't know. There's just a lot of cool things about Chappie, and the 2 rappers kind of irked me a little bit, but I don't know. I enjoyed that movie. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Short Circuit.
Short Circuit?
Yeah.
Short Circuit, cool. All right, we kind of already talked about that. My number 2 is Robocop. And what's your number 1?
AI.
So I was going to ask you a question about what do you think is the worst robot movie? You see what I put for
AI,
mine?
probably. Yeah. That was
my number 1 is Terminator. Okay, so let's talk about AI.
Okay.
You have that as your
honorable
number
mention,
1.
Transformers. Just gonna throw that.
Oh yeah,
out there.
yeah. Of course, that's good. I mean, we like the cartoons more. I don't bash Michael Bay as much as everybody else does. I think that they were exactly what they needed to be.
Every single one of them, I love.
Nobody needed Shakespeare for Transformers.
Those are those movies I can watch over and over again.
Michael Bay was the perfect director for something like that. But artificial intelligence. It's the most boring movie I could think of. When I was trying to think of boring movies in my life, the most boring movies I've ever seen, artificial intelligence is the only one that pops up immediately in my mind. There may be more boring
Avatar's
to me.
like that for me, but there's the Avatar has a whole long list of stuff.
It's just so slow, and so there's no ramp up. It's kind of just like this the whole movie,
his character,
and it goes on.
Jude Law on there too, and the guy the kid that plays in Six Sense.
I want to give
call him a kid.
I want to give yeah.
But he's actually older than me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I want to give an honorable mention to Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams.
That's pretty good.
Amazing, fantastic movies. Just not a movie that I go to, but great movie for what it talks about. Of course, Robin Williams.
Yeah, I just think their acting performance is what did it for me, and the fact that kid could hold this movie. As vast as this movie was, I mean, you got to admit, this movie was vast.
But did he do this first or Sixth Sense first? Which one blew him up?
I mean, definitely Sixth Sense probably blew him up most, on that. But
I think he did Sixth Sense first, and he blew up, and then got AI after that.
But just his performance in this and him able to carry this is why I like this movie, is that he did such a well job in it, and he carried the whole vastness of this movie on his back.
Yeah, he did Sixth Sense in 1999, and then Pay It Forward in 2000, getting him even more famous. Then Artificial Intelligence, and then he kind of He didn't do much after that.
Yeah.
He did Secondhand Lions with Michael Caine. You know how you say Michael Caine like he
would say it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You just have to call some cocaine your cocaine.
Yeah.
You just have to say my cocaine, and you got his name. How he was saying, and it's so stupid. I'm sorry, but I get it. I get that you like the journey and everything like that. That I don't know. Maybe I have to rewatch it.
It's very sad. It really is a very sad movie.
It's
but
lonely. It's a lonely.
Yeah,
movie.
it is, and it's just kind of.
Maybe that's why I was so against it. And I haven't watched it since I was an adult. I think last time I watched it, I was a teenager, and I was just like, "This is awful."
It's just like not a good or not a bad dream. Just one of those dreams that you just kind of wake up from, and you're like, ugh.
You're gonna put that above RoboCop?
Yeah,
what's wrong with you?
I don't.
Or even Terminator.
I classify Robocop as a different type of movie, I think.
See, I was just kind of going
the
for
robot side of
artificial
him.
intelligence type thing.
Yeah,
Not
but,
just like, I don't know. Sorry.
I feel like it's more like a science fiction technological type of movie.
Isn't that another word for robot?
No, because I mean, it's
especially if it's moving on its own.
You do see other robots, but you have these crazy guns and these, just other things that help the cops and help everybody else, and stuff that doesn't seem too far off now.
Yeah,
that back then it definitely did.
Yep.
It felt that 1,000 years away, when in reality we're looking back at some of this stuff like, yeah, we've had that, but it doesn't work.
We've had that. I've had that before.
Yeah.
When's the first time you remember seeing this movie, RoboCop?
I was a kid. I mean, it had to be obviously after. Obviously it was after 87, so I'm thinking maybe like 90. I was about 10 or 11. Maybe.
No, you were in I was going to say you were in kindergarten when it came out.
Was it 87?
You were 6 years old.
Yeah.
So, I remember watching this in the 80s, but I can't remember where. It might have been early 90s. But it was either in Maine or Lake Jackson. And I think it was in Lake Jackson. Remember the twins, Melinda and Belinda, that lived down the street? And I had crushes on both of them. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Is that offensive? I don't know if that's offensive. Anyways. So they were like pretty much always unsupervised. And I remember going to watch all kinds of crazy movies that I shouldn't have been watching, going over to their house. So pretty sure it was something like that. That's probably the first time I'd seen this. But
or we could have just watched HBO, because our parents always had HBO.
We had HBO for a little bit. Like, I think it was like a good 6 month to a year period. And
I remember always watching
recorded tons and tons of movies the whole time we had it. No, it's fine as long as we didn't redistribute to all those people that we redistributed and made money off of. I'm just kidding. We didn't really do that. I think most of us when we were younger liked this movie. We all thought it was kind of like this is appealing to kids. Kids think this is awesome, but it was not one little bit of it is intended for kids. But what came after it? The toy line and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it had memorabilia to it. And it's like Robocop. I mean, Terminator had the same thing.
I remember the Terminator, or the Robocop toy, where you flipped its back and you had those little, those cap guns with little caps in it. And you hit it, and it'd be like a little bit of powder. Gunpowder.
You got to have his gun sound.
Yeah, but then you would hit it every time, and you'd be shooting it, and it'd really sound like it.
Yeah, I remember those things. It was a good time for us. It's definitely something that we shouldn't have been watching, but it was the 80s and then the early 90s. They didn't really know how to draw a line. That's why they kind of been like PG-13, I guess. Let's bring that around. They had never had to do that before, and I think it was because back in like 50s, 60s, 70s, most of those times, a lot of movies, there weren't a lot of kids movies. I mean, there were some. But that was like a Disney thing. Disney had the market on kids' movies. Everything else was for adults. Yeah. So it was hard to get stuff like this where you see kids looking at this poster I'm looking at where he's halfway out of the cop car, part man, part machine, all cop. He's all decked out in like the, Detroit Motor City looking, design of his outfit and everything. What kid would not be like, I have to see this movie. Yeah. What is this movie about? I need to see it. So I imagine that there were many people sneaking around, or many kids sneaking around on HBO recordings and different things.
And I mean, and the vastness of what came after RoboCop, in the sense of some bad things, and then but you know, they were always using the robot police officer, like in movies and
Like
TV
where?
shows. Like, okay, for instance, nowadays they did in Community, Kick Puncher.
Kick puncher.
Okay, he was a robot cop, but he kicked people. I was thinking kick puncher.
Yeah, what did they say? Something like, his kick's so hard it's like a punch, and it's like, kicks are harder than punches. What are you talking about?
But you know, and then they did, you know, some naughty material with the character of RoboCop, or an iteration of his name. You know, they did.
Oh, you're like a porn version of RoboCop.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it was just so many
didn't know
different
that.
things. I mean, it's a serious thing in pop culture. You know, I mean, you got RoboCop. You know, anytime they do videos of like pop culture from the '80s, you know, RoboCop's usually in that picture.
And when they
know?
first started shopping this script around and everything, it was just like, RoboCop, really? That's the name we're going with?
Even the director didn't like the name.
I mean, if you think about it, RoboCop, I mean, we know it now. But before it was a thing, if you think of, there was no such thing as RoboCop. You're thinking robots and cop, and somebody says RoboCop.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think of it like a little machine just kind of just driving around, like shooting at people.
We got to talk something. I did notice. Did George Lucas do any of the like the robot? You know, the big 209.
You're talking at 209. You're talking about Industrial Light and Magic,
because you see you see characters from, you know, that it's uncut. You know, it's meaning that it's the original version of the movie, but you see the characters, you know, some of the creatures and stuff like that fall down and move the same way, unless it was just done all the same way back then, I guess. But all I'm saying is that I just saw that robot fall down the stairs, and the way it moved and everything else like that just reminded me of Star Wars.
Well, do you remember after the Ed 209 first shot that one dude in the office at the beginning, just murked him completely?
Pretty much like one of the goriest scenes in the whole
the
entire film.
one that really showed you what kind of movie that was the one that shocked everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But
right at the beginning.
yeah, right at the beginning, to show you really what you were in for. And then you had Alex Murphy's death after that. But that one, when they finally pulled the plug on him, it went. It sounded like the Millennium Falcon.
yeah.
Whenever he's trying to put it, watch this, and then he puts the hyperdrive thing, and it's like. And she's like, watch what?
Yeah.
You know, it's that exact same sound effect.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that the guy who did is Phil Tippett's. He's the guy that did he was a stop motion legend.
Yeah.
He did Ed 209. He did the Imperial Walkers.
That's what I'm seeing.
He actually did started to do Jurassic Park before they were like, hey, there's this thing called CGI.
And animatronics.
Well, they were going to do animatronics for part, but for like the wide shots where they needed it running by itself, they were going to do stop motion. And it was still too much, and we can get into that.
I would have not liked that at all.
Spielberg saw it as, this is not the type of movie we're trying to make right now.
That's what's great with Spielberg too, is that he always it's like he waits to make certain movies until technology catches up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say it, whether you believe him or not, that's what George Lucas said he did. You know, he wanted to make Star Wars, but he figured the first 3 movies that he wanted to tell had more technology. It had Jedi in their prime. It had Jedi doing things
prequels
that you wouldn't be able to do with the technology they had, so we wanted to wait on that. Now, there's plenty of things out there by George Lucas that fans are like, did you really? Or was that kind of an afterthought? Oh, yeah, that's what I did, you know, and you're just saying that. But, you know, like the whole Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, I mean, that was not planned from the very beginning. We know that. So, so this was written by a guy, Neumeier, who basically was a script reader. He found one script. What was it? I can't remember he found a really famous script that everybody got made. It was a really good movie and everything, and he got made an executive right away. But he was looking at some. He was working right by Blade Runner. Blade Runner was being done at that time and everything, and he kept going over there, and he'd see, you know, the girl in that, and Harrison Ford standing by a car and everything, and he was just like, I wonder what a robot would look, because remember, some of them, the replicants, are robots and stuff. He's like, I wonder what a real robot cop would look like here. And then he just got an image, and it was basically an image of Robocop standing by this car, being like this completely robot thing, an obvious robot, not just like a hidden android or whatever. So he started the process, wrote the whole thing, Robocop was, there's a whole process of what went on behind the scenes. You guys can watch Movies That Made Us. They do have an episode on Robocop. There's plenty of documentaries out there that you can look at and everything. Yeah. But
and for this movie, like I said, that's how a lot of people puts this movie down. A lot of people think that, this is just this is clown movie. But I mean, when you got documentaries about it and behind the movies, I mean, it there's something to it. You know what I mean? And that's why I love the type of platform we do. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I'm glad we don't do new movies. It's not because we don't, like, we think badly on older movies and we say that, we critique them here and there and stuff like that. It's just, they were so much better back then.
When you have to look really hard to find original content. Yeah. So if you're not making sequels, you're making reboots, you're making remakes, everything's being remade now. And it's all stuff being remade from the 80s and 90s, because those generations, we had the Cold War going on. We had all kinds of different things going on. Yeah. Our only affordable entertainment was movies and TV shows. Yeah. Nowadays, there's streaming and all that kind of stuff. So, and more focus is put on like politics and identity politics and different things like that. So that now the movies aren't really about entertaining. It's about entertaining, but make sure you get the message correct. So that's the problem nowadays that I see. You
can't use your own messaging or pull something that you believe from it, rather than being told what you should believe.
Sure, yeah. So somebody sits down to write a script. The studio goes, I want you to write this, but write this message first, and then write the movie around that message. And that's what we're getting nowadays. There are good movies out there. People can, if you guys are willing to find them, there are good movies. They're very hard to find because they're being made by independent. Most of the big studios, they got to toe the line of the message and everything like that, or they get shouted down. I feel like the pendulum's swinging a bit, so we'll see. But as of right now, like the golden age of TV, that ended a couple years ago. Now it's all just garbage message stuff. We had a good run from like 2010 to like 2020 of just the most amazing, fantastic TV shows. Some are still pulling it along, like Stranger Things and different things like that. But I don't know. Though between movies and TV shows, what isn't a remake or an IP that's popular nowadays that's not based on something else? You got all Marvel movies, all Star Wars movies. I mean, those are the big ones, right? And so then some of these others, if it's not a remake of an older movie, it's an original that cannot be a movie unless it's a comedy. It's impossible for people to write movies nowadays and say, well, it's not funny enough, because they think, I guess this generation, that's what the vocal part of these generations, they just like, oh, well, it's not funny. It's like you're just going so you can get dick joke and all these joke after joke after joke after joke, instead of having real scenarios. It's just a bunch of jokes.
And with that said, let me ask you this: could this movie fly nowadays?
Yes, but there would be a huge message. I mean, we got one in 2014 where we kind of started getting a little message. Samuel L. Jackson was supposed to be a spoof on Bill O'Reilly, right? So there was some messaging there.
Well, what I'm getting at here with this, though, is, some of the wording and things they say in this movie, and some of the, the gunplay and things like that, gunplay, I say that not meaning as a play, but, some of the stuff, like some of the words and the derogatory terms that they call each other, things like that throughout this movie.
You're talking about that happened a lot.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like this movie, I don't think could play now.
Actually pick that up. Like how many times have they said this word?
Yes.
And, apologies if that offends anybody. I'm just saying the word, but they did use that word quite a bit.
Yeah, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think that this movie would fly in that sense.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
No. Like you said, they would make it, sure, but it would be a RoboCop that goes against things that it would normally be for in the 80s. You know, so it's like, okay, well, it's a different time, and who has the keys to the kingdom? And by that I mean, all the big studios and everything. Yeah. All the big studios are the message and everything. So you cannot get a script that you would have in the 80s and 90s past studios nowadays.
Well, and also ironic with this movie, too, is the fact that, it's predicting, saying that these big corporations, hence studios, the studios are actually, running the world. They're running the police force. They're running government. They're in charge, these big corporations. And it's funny that that's something that probably wouldn't be played because of that, messaging nowadays, because it's referring to, studios as well.
Very interesting. There's a lot of stuff in here that we could draw to today and the political issues today. I did write down one thing. There's a news report on one of the news report that, stops the movie a little bit throughout the movie. News report on how the Death Star space station in space shot down rays that started fires everywhere, right? So that's the leading conspiracy theory of the Maui fires that happened, was that it was from space, and it was done from space, and the only protection people have is to paint their roof blue. Have you seen all that? Yeah. So in the movie, it wiped out 2 former presidents by accident, in the casualties. Yeah. So was that used to kill the presidents, and then everybody else got killed together? And it's like, well, what are these Maui fires that are happening with these blue roofs, where these fires are just raging everywhere and everything's burned? But you look at these cars that have blue roofs, they're fine. Houses that have blue roofs, they're fine. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not even going to get into and try to answer out there. But, I mean, kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it was their version of the future, you know what I mean? And it was saying that crime was going to be so rampant that you're gonna have to bring in, just like war has become, that's we get the drone program, you know what I mean? The drone program has prevented probably millions, thousands of lives, you know what I mean?
And that's the whole point of the OCP. They're testing military protocols and experimentation in an urban environment.
And what do we have is drones. It's like it's predicted a lot of things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that's very interesting too, with this trial that's going on right now with the drones and everything that's getting brought back. But
yep, exactly.
So anyways, this was filmed in Dallas, pretty close to us. The OCP building is the Dallas City Hall or Municipal Hall or something like that. And basically, it has that little curvature at the beginning where at the bottom it's angled up, and right where the angle stops and then goes straight up is a building. Right where it stops is the actual building. And then what they did is they did a matte painting which extended the building to go like 100 stories up, which there is something in the movie that makes me go, wait, what? That we have to get into. But just to get into the movie, are you ready for this?
Yes.
So in the near future dystopia, Detroit, it's on the brink of social and financial collapse. Overwhelmed by crime and dwindling resources, city grants the mega corporation Omni Consumer Products, also known as OCP, control of the Detroit Police Department. The senior president, Dick Jones, demonstrates Ed 209, a law enforcement droid designed to supplant the police.
We need a 24-hour-a-day police officer. A cop who doesn't need to eat or sleep. A cop with superior firepower and the reflexes to use it. Fellow executives, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the future of law enforcement. Ed 209. The enforcement droid, Series 209, is a self-sufficient law enforcement robot.
We'll need an arrest subject.
Mr. Kenny.
Yes, sir.
Would you come up and give us a hand, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kenny is going to help us simulate a typical arrest and disarming procedure. Mr. Kenny, use your gun in a threatening manner.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You now have seconds to comply. You are in direct violation of Penal Code 113, Section 9. You now have 5 seconds to comply. 4, 3, 2, 1. I am now authorized to use physical force.
Ed 209 malfunctions and brutally kicks an executive, allowing an ambitious junior executive, Bob Morton, to introduce... sorry, I said brutally kicks, but brutally kills an executive, allowing ambitious junior executive Bob Morton, played by Miguel Ferrer, to introduce OCP's chairman, the old man, to his own project, Robocop. So, meanwhile, we have Officer Alex Murphy. He's transferred into Metro West Precinct, him and his new partner, Ann Lewis. They go out in their first beat, and they end up having to go after Clarence. Now, in this opening... did you notice something that that Bob guy was saying to the old man, the big boss?
Perhaps you're aware of the Robocop program developed by myself at Security Concepts as a contingency against just this sort of thing?
Thank you for your concern, Mr. Morton. I'm sure this is something we can take up in my office at a moment.
Maybe what we need here is a fresh perspective. Tell me about your plan, Mr. Morton. How long will it take?
We're ready to go, sir. We've restructured the police department and placed prime candidates according to risk factor. I'm confident that we can go to prototype within 90 days.
Good, very good. Get your staff together, Mr. Morton. I'll expect a full presentation in 20 minutes.
He basically spelled out for the audience that they had planned for Alex, specifically Alex, to die.
Yeah, because they've been moving people into certain areas.
Exactly.
Or to certain precincts. The possible candidates into certain precincts.
So they planned for Alex to die, among others. He told the boss that they restructured the police department and so have some prime candidates for the Robocop program, which they would need a dead body for. So they've restructured this so they can get dead bodies, right? Yeah. And every police officer has to sign a waiver saying, you know, whatever happens, you can use my body, all that kind of stuff. So Alex moving to this new precinct is part of that restructure. And so what does that mean? They probably predict, because he's such a wild card and he's swinging his, he's twirling his gun and everything, they predict that if they send him to Metro West, that he's going to get killed pretty quickly trying to be a hero. Well, because he's a hot shot, And
he also tells you why they chose him.
Murphy, huh?
Yeah, that's me.
Man, hi. What brings you to this little paradise?
Beats me, man. I think OCP's moving a lot of new guys up here. Omni Consumer Products. What a bunch of morons. They're gonna manage this department right into the ground.
Where are you from?
Metro South.
Welcome to hell.
He's basically saying that we need because they're all basing it on percentages, so that they need 50% knowledge of their job, and is good, basically saying they're good at their job, meaning that they'll go into a situation, they know how to read the situation, they know how to be a cop, and they've done it. They're very good for at a short period of time, and then they said that, basically saying that the rest of it's the robotics and whatnot, added to it. But they need
Lewis is more of just a traditional cop, and whereas Alex is one of the few that's moved around where he's like a really, really good cop, recognizes things. That
not a dirty cop, because
the robot.
Even the bad guy was like, "What kind of cop are you?" and basically, Alex could have said, "Hey, no, I'll get off you guys. I won't be searching you. None of that." The bad guy, Red Foreman.
Oh, you're talking about, he could have just said, "Hey, I'm a bent cop.
Yes,
I will look the other way. You guys
he kept
can
his
go."
mouth shut and just
deal.
stared at him.
Right.
Instead of trying to weasel his way out, that's the reason that he was chosen to be Robocop, basically.
Yeah. So basically, they purposely move people around to get killed for this project, because it doesn't work unless it's a dead body. Mm-hmm. So, and then they take all the memories away, so where it's just your kind of analytical mind or whatever, and it doesn't really explain in the older movie why they needed to do that, why they needed to have a human face in it. And that's what I think the 2014 version does a really good job of. It's like, well, why wouldn't we go with an Ed 209? Why wouldn't we say, okay, we need to fix that and let's keep going with that? Why do we need a smaller version with a person in it, or a perceived person? Because remember, it's only his face, brain, and spinal cord that's left in this thing. Yeah. Not even his skull.
Well, it's a robot. Remember his left. They said,
and they got rid of it.
I thought they said they'd to do it, but then they didn't do it, or something?
No, they kept it, but he's like, what are you talking about? So they were able to save the arm, but he goes, nope, take it. It's a complete robot. So the creator or the writers basically have said that the only thing that was left was his brain, spinal cord, because that's how he feels the pain when he's getting stabbed and stuff, and his face. And I'm not saying his skull, his face.
Yeah.
So underneath that face, it's just a robot skull.
I wonder if
with a
face-off
brain.
doctors did the procedure.
But I mean, they did such a good job in this movie of making it just look like that
Like
was a
stretched
face
over
stretched
face.
over a
Reminded
robot
me of
skull.
Hellraiser or something, dude.
That's what I'm saying. So that's like another aspect of this is a horror movie because that's horrifying. You had texted me when you were watching it. Can you fly, Bobby?
Can you fly,
This
Bobby?
has such good quotable lines. My
does.
favorite is always "Dead or alive, you're coming with me."
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me want to play that new PS5 game, the new Detroit City or whatever it's called, the new Robocop game. I've been wanting to play that so long. But I guess he was in Mortal Kombat, and, you know, you can fight him against the Terminator and stuff.
Yeah.
But this has some good quotable lines, like, you know, dead or alive,
Remember, we care.
yeah, remember we care. Can you fly, Bobby? Dead or alive, you're coming with me. I'd buy that for $1.
Yes.
You know, all these different. I think there's like another one too. What did he say? Oh, I can't remember. There's so many good lines.
The most iconic one. I mean, obviously, Dead or Alive, you come with me, but I think I'll buy
Your
that
move, creep.
Yeah, well, that one too, because I remember playing the video game, and he would say stuff. He
I'd
would
buy
say all
that
these,
for $1.
But I'd buy that for $1 because I always thinking about it, and I used to say that all the time just because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, and then they kind of
But
incorporated
then-
it in the new movie where he was like, "Oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. I wouldn't buy that for $1."
Yeah,
So that was
yeah.
kind of a cool little shit. That was Jackie
Well,
Earle Haley.
and with the comparison that I was gonna really kind of point out, I think the biggest one is that, you know, you saw a little bit in the original, but in the 2014, he was a lot more. They were a lot more humanizing towards him and portraying his character.
Definitely.
You know, he was more about his family and wanting to get back to his family, where this other one was kind of at the realization when they found out she moved away.
Yeah.
He was kind of even at that form was like, okay, cool, but now I got my new family. This cop, my partner,
And that makes more sense to me
Yeah.
than going back. You should have just told them that.
But it's a lot more humanized. They try to a lot more humanize her in the newer one than they did in the original.
Yeah, and they mess with the emotions, right? They turn up and down the chemicals. Where in this one, even when he was kind of getting back to being Murphy, in the Sundry or whatever that big factory place was, you know, he was still robotic the way he talked and everything. Whereas the newer version, he just talked like normal. So,
and that's why it's kind of hard to actually say like the newer version. I almost like it probably as much as the original.
I think I'll always like the original most, but I think that the 14 is a good one. I understand the criticisms of it and stuff. I still enjoy it.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I will like it. Now there are only 2 RoboCop movies, the originals and stuff that I mean, I like the first one. I personally like the second one the best. I know the first one's better and everything, but the second one I just always liked because it was the fight between the 2 robots, and that was kind of cool to see. And the Ed 209 in the first one, that didn't last very long. He kind of got his ass handed to him in that one. But anyways, so whenever he was transferred, they start pursuing a notorious criminal. And this is Alex's first patrol, and he's wiped out in his first patrol. You know, and of course, right before it, he twirls his gun, and you know, we get a little flashback later that shows that, you know, his kid wanted him to learn how to twirl his gun and be cool like that. So he did it for his kid. You know, he learned how to twirl his gun.
Which it's called. Is it not plot armor, but what is it called when they use that? Foreshadowing, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, but it's definitely foreshadowing.
Yeah.
For him twirling the gun,
Because then he does it again when he's RoboCop, and it's the first indication to Lewis, like, wait, I've seen that before, and we know that this is a dead cop, and it has to be one that's died recently. Blah blah blah. So it runs into Clarence Bodiger and his gang: Emil, Leon, Joe, and Steve. The gang ambushes and tortures Murphy, including blowing his hands off, shooting him in the pee-pee, and all kinds of horrible, disgusting things. And just keep shooting him. And the dude stays alive. Pretty crazily, he stays alive.
You saw how much blood came out of his hand. Like, that's all his blood. That should have been all of his blood.
That's all the blood
There
you got.
shouldn't have been any more blood in him.
And they had one shotgun blast just take off his entire arm. I'm like, man, that is a crazy gun
With no kickback whatsoever.
So, and as he's doing it, you know, Lewis is just standing there like, I mean, what else is she
What
supposed
can
to
she
do?
do? I mean, at
right,
that
but I
point,
mean, that's
there's
got to be
nothing.
horrifying for
Yeah.
her. But I
you
mean,
could go in there and try to defend him. He's already dead, so she thought.
Yeah.
And they would just kill her too.
yeah.
You know.
And in an action movie, this wouldn't be happening to the hero. This would be happening to the hero's best friend, partner, or whatever, so he could avenge him, right? And it's kind of what happened. It's like Robocop avenges his old self or whatever.
Dark man.
Dark man. But I mean, it's in a normal action movie, that's what you'd see, or you'd be like, oh no, and then it'd cut away or whatever. This shows a literal torture and destruction of the main character, and that's why I'm like, okay, this is a horror movie because that is absolutely horrifying. The fact that he wakes up and he's just got stretched skin over a robot skull and a brain, and that's all he's got left of him, and the rest is just that's horrifying. To be stuck in that, I'd just be like, kill me.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I can't feel anything. Nope. Okay, kill me.
That would just be. That's just. Ugh.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. So once they ambush him, Morton, the junior executive that's real ready to get his Robocop going, he has Murphy's corpse converted into Robocop. And it's weird because while they're going through all the getting them put together, it feels like a lot of time has passed.
Yeah.
Whereas they needed it rushed, like we need this like next week. And it feels like they went through like a New Year's party and all kinds of stuff. And you're like, how long has this been? But maybe it was just right around the turn of the year. Although I think Detroit wouldn't have been as hot as it was. It probably would have been snowing.
Not, yeah.
But anyways, maybe it was just a regular normal party, whatever. But anyway, so he finally gets turned into the cyborg. He has no memory of his former life, and he's programmed with 3 prime directives that serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold
only
the law.
3?
And then it pops up in the corner. Directive 4 is classified, so he doesn't even know what Directive 4 is.
He finds out.
He does find out here in a little bit. So, anyways, he's reassigned to the place where Alex got murdered, and that's Metro West. And he's hailed by the media for his brutally efficient campaign against crime. So Lewis obviously suspects that he's Murphy, recognized the way he holds his gun. That's what we talked about. And then Alex, or Robo, as some of them call it. Did you know that on set, Peter was demanding that everybody called him Robo? And Kurtwood Smith is like, okay, well, I'm just not going to talk to him then because I refuse to call him Robo and everything. So I respect Kurtwood Smith for that. But so anyways, Robo starts experiencing a nightmare of Murphy's death during maintenance, and he encounters Lewis, who addresses him as Murphy and everything. So that combined with when he's trying to arrest Emil, recognizes his mannerisms because Robo says to Emil, dead or alive, you're coming with me. And that's when Emil's like, wait a minute, I know you. We killed you. And then that like immediately makes him freeze. So basically, Robocop's gone, Alex Murphy's gone, but all it took was a few little phrases, and he's coming right back. So it just shows, like how embedded.
And we have our Rachel moment for the episode.
Tell me, what is it?
When all the gasoline is on the ground, he goes and decides to throw a lit cigarette, into the gasoline, and everything blows up.
Well, it could.
No.
It could.
No.
Now, like, here's the thing. If you throw a cigarette into a puddle of gasoline, the puddle is going to put it out.
That's what he threw it into. It was a whole
if you remember, it hit
puddle.
the concrete, but it wasn't wet yet. The wetness hadn't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
So it hit the dry part, and just as it was about to hit.
You're watching it sit in the puddle, and therefore.
No, you didn't. No,
I promise.
That's
you.
it. I'm showing you. Okay, I refuse to believe you
because I remember because I looked at it.
I remember thinking that exact thing. He flicked it, and it dropped right next to the puddle. We may have to pause just so we can look at.
But it fell. I swear it fell in the puddle, and then I was like, oh wow.
Let's be honest. There's multiple Rachel moments, but to be honest, as long as that spark is hitting the vapor at some point, it is going to ignite, and then there is a huge tank underground, and it is probably going to explode.
That, like you see, they pointed this out in particular. They said you see on the movies where they flick cigarettes and or cigars into puddles of gasoline.
Yes, but those are they have those in mechanic shops and everything, but they're very old. All the vapors come off of it now, so now it's just gasoline. So you can put it out.
But they were just teaching us that,
and it's good for a degreaser because a lot of mechanics will wash their hands in gas.
They'll get everything off.
Yeah, it's not. It can't be good for your skin though. But yeah, anyways, he did learn that little spinning gun to impress his son and everything, which makes it even more sad.
Was it TJ Laser or something?
Yeah, something like that. But he uses that guy's face to find all the other criminals that were on Clarence's.
Yeah, that database
thing.
is pretty handy.
It is. I mean,
literally, it says, okay, put one guy's face that we got a good picture of. Oh, look, every single villain in the movie is right
known
there.
associates, and I'm sure there was like 10 or 20 others known associates, but it's just the ones relevant to this movie.
It brought up like Demolition Man vibes, where you could literally find everything and anything about every single person.
Demolition Man is nothing but fact because Taco Bell wins those restaurant wars, you know.
In your mind, maybe, but that's about it.
How did you think Peter Weller did in his suit?
I think he did really well.
I thought he did great.
It's funny because you watch him at the beginning of the movie, and he doesn't look like that big of a guy. Like, he's not that big of a guy. But then when you see him in the suit, like, even against Lewis, like, he was like her size, like, was not taller than her. And then he's in the suit, and he just towers over her and everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
Which I thought that was really well to portray that.
It was funny because they had like Peter Fonda, a few others that they were going to do for RoboCop, and then they brought Arnold in, and Arnold wanted to do it. And so they started getting the suit ready for him. They just said it was the most ridiculous thing because it was just so massive because they needed a skinny guy to get in the suit because then he would look bulky afterwards. And Peter Weller was extremely skinny.
Yeah.
And he was very athletic and everything.
Yeah.
Whereas Arnold was just, so they had to make the suit even bigger for Arnold. And they said it was just so massive. It was just ridiculous. So,
he can't play all the robots in Hollywood.
I know, right? But I did think he did good. I mean, there's this story of he got the studio to hire the mime actor that worked in like theaters and stuff. And so for like a while, they were out in the parking lot doing these mime acting, and people would be watching them to see how the robot would walk. And like even Kurtwood Smith was like, "Is that how he's gonna walk?" You know, just like they didn't like it, but it was like this fluid, almost dance ballet type thing. And then when he got into the suit, he realized it was too bulky to do all that stuff. And he tried doing it, but it wasn't working for the director. The director's like, this is awful. And so they had to like basically go back from square one or go back to square one to figure it out. But I think the whole moving, turn your head before you move the body where you're going to go. You know, you point the head in which direction you're about to turn to. Yeah. I just thought he did really good. And he had to do that as a damaged robot from Ed 209 on the ground. Yeah. And he looked weird a couple times. But I thought he did really good in me thinking that's just a brain with a robot, that and the way it moves and everything.
Yeah, well, like,
it was pretty good.
And you get the Alien movies are a lot like the type of suits and stuff they're in, and then you could tell a lot of those same people that did Aliens did this too. Is because, you know, like they had a lot of prosthetic suits and robots for him, actual, like, you know, what do they call them?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they when they shot him up when he first got shot.
It was like Squibs and stuff?
Yeah, it was a half-body robot that just lifted up, and then they
animatronic,
yeah,
or
animatronic.
Whatever.
It was the same type of
body doubles.
Yeah,
and
as Star Wars, Alien, you know, Robocop. What's it called? The one with Arnold on Mars.
Total Recall.
All that.
The one with Lance Hendrickson in Alien 2 where he had a half body, different things like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it was done by. I don't think Stan Winston was part of this, but I think they had some pretty good builders and you know, animators and everything like that really helped them all.
Yeah.
I think that the stop motion Ed 209, like I said, it was done by the guy who did the Snow Walkers. Here's the thing. I didn't think it was too bad. When I watched it, I was like, it looks jerky, but it's a robot, so it's supposed to look jerky. When you start doing skeletons and humans and organic organisms, whether it's animals or humans or whatever, that's when it starts to look jerky, right? Because each frame is crystal clear, and they don't have what's called the motion blur. And so whenever you're punching across a screen, it looks like a blur, whereas in stop motion, everything is completely clean because it's one shot, you know, every half second or whatever.
Well, you know that it reminded me of when Luke was in Hoth, right? Like the winter.
Yeah, the Imperial Walkers.
Yeah, well, no, not the Imperial Walkers as much as the that creature he was riding, the horse-like creature.
The Tauntaun.
The Tauntaun. It moved a lot like that.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, it moved much too lightly.
And they have to use perspective on a lot of things, you know, on the way that they film it. They have to use perspective to make it look larger or you know, move right. But
I just thought it worked
put
in this.
me off a little bit.
I thought it worked in this case because it was a robot, so it's supposed to look jerky, completely clean movements. There wouldn't be any blur because it's a robot making very deliberate movements, not quick or whatever. And it wasn't like he was moving too fast, but could it use maybe an upgrade for today's audiences? Like, hey, somebody go take that scene and put some CGI over that. Okay, yeah, I could probably do that. But I don't think it needs to. It's fine for this. Yeah, that's true. It's fine, but it's fine for this movie, and I think it works as if you just think that's just a jerky moving robot. You know, it's a prototype,
right? They did make up for it in 2014 because those things were 209s were badass,
and there was 4 of them when he was trying to get in that one building. But that reminded me of the part 2 where that Kane robot dude. That was a good fight. Ronnie Cox. He is a great He's a great villain, I think. He's one of these villains of my childhood that I always remember just him being such an awful person. He's the one that played Dick Jones. Yeah. And he just, you know, like I said, he was one of the guys in Deliverance, and that was quite the debut movie.
Definitely an evil corporate villain. You know what I mean? He wasn't like I guess you would say he wasn't like your blue collar villain. He was more like the white collar villain.
And I always remember him having been like an old guy, like the old man. Yeah. But he just had like very, very, very blonde hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he had a little bit of gray and everything, but most of it was just very blonde hair. He wasn't as old as I thought he was when I was younger, but when I was younger, everybody's old, so.
Yeah, and he's still around kicking too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, once he does that, he while all this has happened, basically Dick Jones gets Bodiger to go to Morton, Joe's house, Joe Morton, gets him to go to his house and kills him because he's doing the Robocop program, and he's basically becoming good in the old man's eyes.
And even when the old man was, not that old man, but Dick Jones was going after him, and he was just he was like threatening him
in the bathroom.
Yeah, but even what's his face wasn't going back at him like
the
he
old
was.
Man?
No, the younger guy.
Okay.
He wasn't going back to Dick Jones like threatening his life.
Not too bad. Like he was like, I'm taking over, but he's also scared of Dick Jones because everybody in that company knows that he's probably a psychopath.
Yeah, and Dick Jones was actually threatening to murder him,
and there's probably a good portion of them that know that he has something to do with this Clarence guy, and so like, hey, enemies of Dick Jones end up dead, so don't get on his bad side because this dude will murder you.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thanks.
I remember when I was a young executive for this company. I used to call the old man funny names. Iron Butt. Boner. Once I even called him Asshole. But there was always respect. I always knew where the line was drawn. And you just stepped over it, buddy boy. You've insulted me, and you've insulted this company with that bastard creation of yours. I had a guaranteed military sale with Ed 209. Renovation program. Spare parts for 25 years. Who cares if it worked or not?
The old man thought it was pretty important. Dick.
You know, he's a sweet old man. And he means well. But he's not going to live forever. And I'm number 2 around here. Pretty simple math, huh, Bob? You just fucked with the wrong guy. You got your fucking mind.
So after all that happens, he goes and visits his old house. He realized that his old life is over and that they took everything from him.
Nice house too.
For a cop, yeah. I mean, nothing against cops or anything, but I mean, back then, for just a regular beat cop, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that was a really nice house.
Now they did make fun of where he came from, so I'm sure he came from like the schmoozy neighborhood of Detroit, if there is one anymore.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyways, after that does that, he tracks him down at this drug lair. Basically, beats everybody down or they run away. Gets Clarence. And basically beats him until he admits that he works for Dick Jones. He's going to kill him, but then Clarence actually reminds him, dude, you're a cop. You better not kill me. And then it kind of makes Robocop pause, and he's like, you know what, you're right. One of my prime directives is to not do this, so I'm going to take you in, and I'm going to go and get this other guy. So after he takes Boddicker to the police station and says, book him and everything, then he goes to arrest Dick Jones, but that fail-safe measure comes in. I do want to talk about this scene because I don't know if you caught the little mess up here or the things that don't make sense with the building and the parking structure. So if you remember that spot, that shot, he went into OCP and he got in the elevator, and that elevator went all the way up, and it looked like he was like 50 to 100 stories up. I mean, it was high. So he goes in there. He interrogates Dick, tries to arrest him. He starts to get shut down because that's what we find out that the fourth directive is that you cannot arrest a executive sitting member of OCP, which obviously Dick Jones is second in command of. And but after that, he gets Ed 209 to attack him, right? And they have that big shootout and everything. Robo goes to the stairwell. I remember he's like 50 to 100 stories out. He goes to the stairwell, goes down 1 to 2 flights or 1.5, and then looks up. Ed 209 comes out the door, takes one step, tumbles down the door. Robocop goes down 1 more flight of stairs and goes out, and suddenly he's in the parking garage. 150 stories in the air, or 100 or 50 to 100 stories in the air.
Yeah.
And even then, after they start shooting at him, he like falls down 3 more layers. And then they're speeding out of there. Like, how did he get from the 60th floor or whatever it is to going down a couple flights of stairs and suddenly he's in a parking garage again?
Yeah.
That one always made me go, because, I mean, even if you say, well, there was a cut there, so he probably just went down all the flights of stairs. He went down, he had to have gone at least 50 or more flights flights of stairs. That would have taken him forever, especially as a damaged cyborg. But that is what I was going to say was the Rachel moment in the movie, was him doing that, because there's no way he gets to the parking garage that quick.
Yeah, it's just it and it's funny that it's literally this super killing robot's biggest kryptonite is stairs.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny. And that Robocop recognized instantly, I can go down these stairs. And he did, because then he stops and watches him to make sure he tumbles down.
But you also think about it, it's like, can Robocop really go downstairs very
I think
well?
they might have made a joke or mentioned it or even spoofed something in the newer movie with Ed 209's and stairs. I just can't remember what it was. I could have sworn there was something about, they just can't go on. They're not very good with stairs.
Why are we going to have to
or
watch that
like
movie here after we get done?
We might have to, and just like at least mention it or whatever. Yeah. So anyways, the scene where the cop had him in the parking lot and they're shooting at him, trying to destroy him. It's heavy-handed. I get it. It's obvious what they're trying to show here, but it takes you through another death rebirth scene, right? Yeah. So first it was by the criminals that he swore to fight against, right? They cornered him, they killed him, they sit there and just shot him over and over. He had no help, and Lewis was nearby not being able to help, right? And the second one, it was those he should be able to trust, his fellow cops that are now shooting at him, and he has to almost be reborn again, because remember, when he gets to the warehouse place, takes off his helmet, he's more back to being like Murphy. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool little juxtaposition there.
But the cops from his precinct, they turned around and they left.
Yeah, the ones that were saying don't do this, they went ahead and just did the strike thing, and they're like, we don't want to be part of this. That was part of the ultra awesome SWAT team or whatever. But I just thought it was cool because you have, Alex being killed and then reborn by criminals, doing his job what he's supposed to, and then being reborn into this horrible Robocop person with no personality, no memory of his previous life and everything. And then you had him gunned down again, this time by the people he's supposed to, just for doing what's right in both times. And now he has to be reborn again, but this time he actually comes back as Murphy, who was there all along.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was cool.
Yeah. I get that too, and you know it's kind of like you see a lot of this stuff where they're they're talking about, oh well, we need to find the proper cop to do this, and then all of a sudden the first cop shows is Alex. You know what I mean? It's just
could have been like maybe there was a couple others that died too from them moving around, but we just saw that they thought, oh okay, well Alex is going to be the best.
But that's just that's another part that's going to obviously be in a movie, and you automatically know if you're a seasoned movie watcher, you can pick up on that. Also on the dying and coming back, reborn better. I mean, Lord of the Rings, they do it. I mean, all Marvel movies do it.
It's rare to see two die and rebirths in one movie.
Correct.
And it coming and making it come back full circle to where he was at the beginning, and what he had lost and everything. So it was almost like the criminals took away what made him human, and the corrupt SWAT members or whatever those cops were that were really working for OCP instead of the people. Yeah. It's like they took away his robotness and gave him back. He was able to take back Alex Murphy for it. So it's kind of like this.
What do I call you? Call me Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy. So, anyways, let's see, where are we at? Okay, so basically, the Clarence and his gang, they get the order from Dick Jones. Hey, go! He's still alive. Go kill him. And they get these new guns to be able to do it. They're gonna go and basically murk him. Just them and or him and Lewis who are there. So I thought it was cool when they took off his helmet. He still has the bullet hole in the little face, even though it's just the skin of his face and probably the cartilage or whatever. They left the bullet hole unfixed.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. It showed where he came from, what made him him.
I felt like when I watched this movie a long time ago, I really felt like they showed more of the wife, but it could be because I hadn't seen this movie again since I watched the 2014 version. But I felt like that, like you actually got to meet the wife, but you didn't even get to meet the wife and children.
That's just a quick little flashback.
Yeah, just flashbacks.
And
so you don't
empty house.
Yeah, it's really weird where you don't actually get. But I felt like when I was younger that you saw more of that.
I think I always remembered that it was just in memories and everything, because that's what made me think of this new movie. Like, oh, okay, so they're actually going to have him part of his life. What did you think of the climax? Because I personally thought it should have been between him and Ed 209, a part 2 of that fight or whatever. But I guess this works too, because he's taking down the main bad.
Who killed him originally.
Yeah. You don't often see the hero and the sidekick. I mean, let's just call her a sidekick. But you often see the hero going after the twerps and the sidekick going after the main guy. But that's what happened in this one, is she went after Clarence and he went after all the twerps. I guess it was all right, and she was like, I'm a mess.
Murphy, I'm a mess.
They'll fix you. They fix everything.
A nice little thing. And then he comes back, blows Ed 209 away, and goes up, and then
like straight up the whole top half is gone.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool when he got into the boardroom, and he was like, well, I can't kill him because he's a sitting member. And he's like, what evidence do you have? He shows the whole I kicked, and all he needed was that simple little I kicked, the admitting and everything. But yeah, then the cool little you're fired. And he's like, thank you.
And then the old man actually hits him, and you kind of wonder if like he would have been able to make the shot anyways. I mean, his whole thing was kind of messed up, without the elbow. But
that's true.
He did.
But he didn't have his mask on to do his aiming or whatever. But obviously, I think Alex is a good aim on his own. But then we hit the true worst stop motion, and that's whenever the dude falls out of the window and his arms are about 2 to 3 feet. They look like Freddy Krueger's in the first Freddy movie where he stretches
wearing a
his
straight
arms
jacket
out.
and the straight jacket got loose.
Do you remember the first Freddy Krueger
Yes.
movie where it's real bad and everything? That's what it looked like. It was just like
you could tell he's laying down on a green screen. You can tell that.
But it looks. I don't think even that. I think it's just a claymation figure because the arms are just way too big.
Like I said, it looked like he had a straight jacket off and it was just stretched out arms.
So I think that was the true worst.
And they need to really reinforce
Stop
the
those.
glass behind those in that office.
Yeah, and they were still using plate glass, man. How dangerous that was back in the day. They hadn't
People
really
keep
got
falling
on.
through it.
Yeah, because I mean nowadays they just use the sugar glass where it just breaks into little pieces that won't cut you and everything. So the glass made out of sugar. But back in the day they used that plate glass where if you fell on the wrong piece, that might be a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, and then he's like, appreciate that, officer. What's your name? Murphy. Or what should we call you? Murphy. And then he gives a smile, cheesy smile. I forgot that it just drop ends right there. I thought there was something else and everything, but it was just like Murphy smiles, turns around, and then moves over. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bloodsport ending where it's like, that's, I think, the best ending.
Kumate. Yeah. No, and then like the Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban where it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
And then his face is just frozen.
Yeah, I love that. That's older movies used to always just end like that. Like it's like, okay, we don't have any more money to finish this production.
It's like you literally like that was the point where you ran out of too much money.
Yes.
Just like, how do we end this? Just pause it. It doesn't matter. Pause it on somebody's face. It's hilarious.
They ended up getting $13.9 million to do this.
And how much do you remember? How much they made off of it?
Oh, I don't.
So the budget was. You said the budget was how much?
Well, it was originally like 12 something, and then they ended up getting it up to like 13.9 because of a mistake by Orion. They forgot to get them to sign that they will do this movie for like 12 point something and nothing more, and they didn't get the production team to sign it, and so because of that loophole, they gave them more money.
That's awesome. Look at it now, domestic box office, and this is just domestic. It's 53 million off of a 13 million box office. So huge success. No surprise that there was a couple, maybe even more than that, trilogies afterwards. I think there was also a TV show maybe or something.
Yeah, a cartoon.
Yeah, their toys, all kinds of stuff. But I really want to play that new PS5 game. You guys listening, if you've played that game, let us know if it's any good. If I should buy it.
Oh, it does sound pretty good.
But I want to try.
I remember playing it on Nintendo.
Yeah, this is a new one. It's like called some New Detroit City or something like that. And you play as Robocop, and
that's pretty cool.
It's like the classic Robocop too. So I really want to play that. But yeah, what was your favorite part of this movie?
Probably where Red ends up shooting the other guy's car because he got a car that's exactly like his. It was the newest car out there.
The 6000 SUX sucks. The car's literally called Sucks.
Red is so petty. I keep calling him Red. I'm going to do it.
That's fine. Kurtwood, Red, whatever.
Yeah,
it works.
But he got the gun out because he was going to have to show what this gun could do anyways. And then the guy decides to pull up with a car exactly
the same one as you do.
He pulls out the gun and
Red
just blows it up.
He's like, hey,
but then he gets a gun and blows up other cars.
Behavior.
But they don't shoot his car.
So that was your favorite part?
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was from the moment he walked into the office, went through the Ed 209 stuff, had all the cops shooting him, and then Lewis got him out of there. All that was my favorite because, it's that middle part where it's like, oh, he's about to do something, but then he's brought even to a lower part.
Here's another Rachel moment.
And
Do
of
you
course
really
it's Ed
think
209.
that she could carry freaking Robocop on her shoulder?
Yeah, it was almost like he used her to kind of get up, and she'd be like, ah!
I know, but she's like really, she's got him over her shoulder and carrying him. And I'm like, do you realize how much he probably actually weighs? I'm pretty sure that that's not something you're capable of.
Yeah, that's probably another one of those things where it looks good on screen, but it doesn't make any sense.
No.
So, I really enjoyed this movie. I've loved this movie ever since I first saw it, and even if it was horrifying to me at certain moments,
and gory as
and
crap.
I knew I wasn't supposed to watch it, and different things like that. I have always and forever loved this movie ever since I saw it. And I will always defend it. It is what we would call part one of Paul Verhoeven's satire, political satire movies. The other two being Total Recall and Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is my favorite. Robocop just barely second place. Almost they're tied or whatever. And then I'd say Total Recall is number 3 for me out of those 3. But really enjoy this movie. And if you guys get a chance to watch it, it's on Amazon. You can buy it or rent it. And it's also on HBO Max as of this date. So, cool, man. What do you want to do next?
Alien.
Oh, yeah. We should do Alien and Aliens.
Well, I know that Adrian wants to get on with Alien with us.
The first one?
Yeah.
See, we should have done that one because I know you'd said that you wanted to go straight to Aliens, but I can't do part 2 of something unless I do the first one.
No, well, let me ask him because I don't know. He might like Aliens better too, but
well, either way, we can't do one without the other.
Obviously,
yeah. I'm not going to do 2 without doing one first, and if I do 1, I'm going to have to do 2 because James Cameron's awesome.
Yes, in everything besides one movie.
Yeah, like I like Alien for what it is. It's very a cinephile type of movie. You know, it has the really cool and creepy but simplistic old school sci-fi things. All the buttons of the ships and the lights and everything. And
plus by part 2 you actually know what's going on now.
Yeah.
Like part 1 it's still the mystery of what's actually.
Alien is a slow burn movie where it's about what it is because remember at that point we don't know what a face grabber is, face hugger. We don't know what the xenomorph is. We don't know what any of this is. So we're learning it all in the stages of its metamorphosis in real time. So I mean it becomes this unfolding horror movie that just is terrifying and everything, but it also has its problems because it's older, it has some sound problems, different things like that. But then you get to James Cameron, you know exactly what this is going forward. But the new threat, the unique thing is there's multiple and many of them and hundreds of them and everything, and it's just a balls to the wall non-stop action movie.
Absolutely.
So also with one of my favorite action stars, which is Michael Biehn.
Yeah,
does a great job. So all right, cool. If you guys want to get a hold of us, we're on certain social medias at The Post Credit Podcast. We don't really dabble with Facebook or MySpace anymore. Or Facebook or Instagram anymore. Take that as you will. But you can find us on Twitter at The Post Credit.
X now.
Oh, excuse me, X. Our email address is thepostcreditpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website. It's www.thepostcreditpodcast.com, and we're on YouTube. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.
Dead or alive.
You are coming with me.